Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of This Week in Cloud Computing. I'm your host, Amanda Coulong. I am joined in studio with the wonderful Mark Jeffrey.
Good afternoon, Amanda. How are you?
And I like that you're wearing shades of gray.
Yes, I know. You don't like when I wear black. So
I have to keep
It's
it
my
in.
Space Cowboy shirt. She likes the Space Cowboy.
I know. We also are joined by Skype with Dave Linthicum, my other wonderful cohort.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're great. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
He's got like the white background
I
against our
know.
black.
I know. That's new office.
He's the angel.
Very nice.
He's the angel. Anyway, we've got quite a few very important network updates here at thisweekend.com, the first of which I'm very, very excited to announce that our This Weekend Social host, Sean Percival, is now a daddy. Or a pappy to a babby. And you have to look on Twitter to figure that one out.
Yes.
But let's play a little bit of sound for that one, if we will. That sound. Oh, it's so cute.
That's the first.
That was the very first cry of Charlotte Paige Percival. So let's do a little bit of bragging here and show what our cutie pie looks like. There she is. So that is Charlotte Paige Percival, Percival Spawn on Twitter, and now we're wondering if she's going to get her own Facebook page. So there you go, Sean. So congrats to the Percival family. We also have a snazzy new look on iTunes.
We do.
So make sure you go check that out. We've got an entire bar,
This
our
week,
own row of
there's
video
an entire
podcasts.
row of all of our shows. You have to go to iTunes podcasts and then video podcasts. You click on that, you'll see an entire row of all of This Weekend shows, all in one row.
Oh,
which is
that's
great.
snazzy.
It's really nice.
See all our pictures, see what we've been up to.
Yeah, it's good.
Great. We have two great guests this week. We have Bill Loumpouridis with EDL Consulting, and you're on the phone with us. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great, Amanda. Thanks.
Loumpouridis, actually. I think I missed your name. Loumpouridis, right?
That is correct.
Ha. See, I admit when I make mistakes. We also have Rob Bialk joining us for App of the Week later on with TalentDrive. So that's a great service for sifting through resumes. Yep. So we might use that here this weekend, given that we've got lots of recruiting going on. If you want to participate with us, join us in the chat room. You can also follow us on Twitter, TWI Cloud Comp, and please use the hashtag TWICC so we can catch those messages. Obviously, subscribe to on iTunes.
Yep.
YouTube, and rate our show. Please rate our show. Let us know what you think. It helps us. We love your feedback. We've got some great sponsors I want to give a shout out to: Verticore, Storm on Demand, and NetDNA. That's at Verticore, at Storm on Demand, and at NetDNA CDN on Twitter.
You know, I'm feeling really good about the Verticore ad today.
Really?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good about it.
We may have something up our sleeves. You never know on This Week in Cloud Computing. And real quick, the Up Cloud Computing Conference, a new conference that's November 15th through the 19th in San Francisco. We'll put the link there in the chat room. And there's also the Upstart Cloud Awards as well. So make sure you check out that link. The deadline for submissions is September 30th, and there are a number of categories. So if you're a cloud computing company and you want to get some accolades, then definitely try out for the Upstart Awards. So without further ado, I think we have some news. Mark's got the head bob going on here. Story number one. I am happy to announce that Apple has just had its quietest launch ever by burying a cloud music service in a list of feature sets. So Apple usually has all this fanfare and all this lead up in marketing to a big launch, but now I believe that they're trying to kind of hide this. Now what I'm getting at here is there's been a lot of speculation around Apple's plans for Lala, the music streaming technology that they acquired in December, but now Apple's offering this subtle feature that lets people stream music to their iPhones, their iPads, and their iTouch devices by using the online storage service that comes with MobileMe iDisk version 1.2. So the features are really limited, so it's not exactly iTunes in the cloud yet, but they're sneaking it in under the radar a little bit, you know, in terms of giving people a chance to mess around with music in the cloud. So what I want to know from all of you is this a sign that Apple thinks that the future of iTunes is in the cloud? Is Apple going to keep its hold on online music? Is this move because Apple's feeling a threat from Google? Dave, I'm throwing it at you first.
Well, I'm kind of getting sick of iTunes taking one half of my disk drive space, so I hope this comes around pretty soon.
Yeah.
But this is the future of media. We're moving into a streaming paradigm. We're going to get our music, we're going to get our videos out of the cloud. I notice, like, even in my consumption of multimedia system, my consumption of video, I do so via streaming now, probably a good 75% of the time. So Apple better get into the game here, because I think Google or somebody else is going to innovate around them and come eat their lunch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree on that one, because you've got so many different services now, too. I mean, you have, like, Last.fm and stuff like that, too. Pandora, obviously. People are listening to a lot of music on Pandora. And Google's going to be launching its own music service. So, they need to kind of step up their game if they're going to maintain their market share. So
yeah, Stitcher Radio, Slacker Radio. I mean, I get new apps all the time, and these are totally free, advertising support, and the content's great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You're a music guy, Mark. I know you want to say something to this.
Well, I think so. It's interesting because we saw that picture of the satellite picture of the cloud facility that Apple was building on the very first show. I think it was.
Yes,
maybe the first or second
one of the very first shows.
And it was obviously, I don't recall the exact dimensions, but it was massive, even by data center stage. Anyway, so basically it's huge, and Apple had no comment on what they were doing there. This looks like now we know what they were building, and I don't think it's any big secret that they're heading in the streaming direction. I completely agree with Dave. Not only for video and music, but books as well. I think will be eventually streamed from the cloud, or at least will be stored in the cloud, even though you'll have a local copy.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately the content owners will like this, because they get more control over the media, and they can always turn it off or change it or do all kinds of things to it, which I'm not sure I like, to be honest with you. But I think that the content creators will love that. So.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how Lala's technology gets integrated into any of this, because we have a second article here that we'll put in the chat room, and we'll have it up with our show notes, but that also talks about what on earth is going on with the Lala technology. Bill, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I think it is really more of a defensive play right now. I think that because there's so much buzz around the cloud, they have to make sure they've got that place on the chessboard covered. But, they're making a lot of money selling devices right now with lots of storage and upselling you. And time will tell. I think that they're doing this to make sure they've got it covered if it takes off.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it just goes to show, too, that, with something as simple as iDisk, you can have music streaming.
Yeah.
So I'm also curious to see how that's going to play out with the labels, if that's going to cause any legal issues, but jury's out on that one. Second story, financial services firm UBS is reporting that Amazon's cloud business could earn $500 million this year, and it could even reach $2.5 billion by 2014. So seems like the bet that Amazon made with Amazon Web Services with the launch of it back in 2006 is paying off.
Yeah.
So what do these numbers mean specifically for the channel in cloud computing? Is the sky literally the limit, Dave?
The whole world is heading in this direction, and Amazon is leading the way. People don't realize that Amazon back in 2003, 2004 were making $12–15 million a year selling cloud services to their partners, and they basically turned that into a larger cloud business. They're leading the way. They're defining the de facto standards into the cloud, and everybody is rushing to them to leverage their services. So the sky is going to be the limit for these guys. These guys are moving forward very quickly, and they have a lot of hype behind them, and they actually have a pretty good product.
Mm-hmm. And 500 million, I mean, and the numbers just skyrocketing. I mean, I know we've talked about, will there be one to rule them all? I don't think it'll necessarily be like that, but I mean, come on, these guys really...
Well, they're breaking the ice on the adoption curve, right? So a lot of people that have been hanging back because of security worries or whatever their concerns are, we discussed them ad nauseum on the show. This says to me that ice is cracking very fast.
Yeah.
And I don't think Amazon will necessarily be the one ring of the cloud in the end. I think there'll be a lot of people serving things up, because people will compete against Amazon as, oh, we've got what they got, but it's cheaper, or it fits you better for some reason, or there's some value add. So I don't think I don't think the sky's the limit, but I do think that their run is well underway and will keep going for some time.
Mm-hmm. Bill, thoughts on this one? Channel, the channel with cloud computing, is this good?
It's tremendous, and I think we're at just the beginning of a self-reinforcing cycle here. It's very hard to touch Amazon because they've got this competitive advantage in terms of their economy of scale as they add additional servers. So that advantage will only increase over time.
Yeah, I would agree. We've got another report out from IDC this time estimating that spending for cloud computing server hardware will rise to $718 billion by 2014. That's up from $582 billion just in 2009. So, here we thought that cloud computing would drive hardware sales down as we learn to share hardware and software, but it seems to be having the opposite effect. Now, Dave, I know you wrote a post about this for InfoWorld this week, so what are your thoughts on this one?
It's building private clouds. I mean, everybody's building their own clouds, and they're doing so with new hardware and software. So for the last 4 years, we've been in a downturn, and there hasn't been a lot of infrastructure spending. Not a lot of new hardware and software has been spent. Now people are moving into new systems, and they're building new systems around the paradigm of cloud computing or the private cloud, and they're buying servers to make that happen. So IDC has a good handle on this trend, and I see the same thing as well. So it'll be interesting to see how people adopt things over time. However, pieces of this are really a bit of internal cloud washing, as I pointed out in the post. Or a lot of people are calling any kind of new systems development, cloud computing because of the spin and the hype around it and looks good on a resume, those sorts of things. But this is a real trend. We're actually increasing the spend on hardware around cloud computing when really the opposite promise was always true.
Mark, you're sitting there.
Yeah, so this is my I think Dave's right.
Fidgeting.
But I have another idea around this. In any gold rush, you know who wins? The people selling the shovels. In this instance, there's a gold rush on. The servers are the shovels. So the people there's a lot of people trying to get in on this. So I think there will be some consolidation, and these numbers will drop in a few years. I'm not sure exactly the timing, but I think what we're seeing right now is a bubble of people trying to get in on the cloud hype. And I think that's what's driving it.
So we've got real trend, we've got bubble. Bill, what are your thoughts?
Well, it is somewhat counterintuitive when you see these numbers. I think it's a little bit of both. You do see the large vendors like Microsoft, Apple, Google doubling down on their cloud bets. I think that's feeding a lot. I mean, the scale is just massive.
It is.
But there's certainly a gold rush mentality right now, and I think it's being fed by a lot of investment capital.
Good point. That's a really good point. Let's jump ahead to going back to Amazon again. They're just in the news this week. Pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly, which is a top customer of Amazon Web Services, has decided it will not expand its use of the hosted service, citing a failure to agree on liability terms. That's not to say that they're not going to use AWS at all. It just means they're not going to expand their contract. But still, that's pretty telling. So will the liability terms that enterprises are demanding cause many cloud computing providers to rethink their risk strategy? And also, will Amazon face similar challenges as it pushes in the enterprise? Bill, let's start with you on this one.
It's interesting because the larger the organization, it seems that the more onerous and complex the legal process can be.
Right.
And it is, the four-letter word here is risk, right? And I think it is going to be an impediment for some adoption in the very large enterprises. I think for the small to medium-sized businesses, it's a no-brainer. But certainly when the large enterprises are at risk, they're going to need to mitigate their own risk somehow, and they're going to need to pass that on to their vendors in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And do you think that it's a problem specifically for Amazon with web services because there are competitors that are saying, well, we have a rock-solid SLA. Amazon's not exactly known for that. Mark, do you want to jump onto this one?
Yeah, interestingly enough, right before we came in here, Otis Chandler of Goodreads.com tweeted that S3 was down, so all the images on his site, on the Goodreads.com site, were not appearing. So it's yet another sort of example of the ways in which cloud is still not all the way there yet.
Yeah.
And if you're someone like Goodreads, it's not such a big deal if you can't get images for an hour or two.
But it's a totally different ballgame when you're dealing with enterprise.
Yeah, especially a pharmaceutical company. So
yeah.
I think that we've now figured out where the line is, I think, for some people in terms of their adoption of the cloud.
Yeah.
I think it'll be some time before we go over that line, but I think we will go over it.
Yeah. Dave, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think the issue you have here is you have a lot of lawyers that are in there trying to mitigate all the risk. out of moving to the cloud, and they're going in there with agreements that Amazon, quite frankly, can't sign because they're not able to live up to them. That doesn't mean, so this is a really kind of an SLA thing. So people look at this as a technical challenge. The reality is that internal systems go down, cloud systems go down. That's just a fact of life. And there's never going to be 100% uptime. And if organizations are looking for that, they're fooling themselves. And I don't think that cloud providers are going to sign those agreements until we kind of figure out what we practically can do around the reality of cloud computing.
Yeah. I mean, one article that I read was talking about how Amazon is saying, well, the sorts of agreements that you would sign for an on-premise solution, it's not really, you can't compare them.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference here, and it is all about risk. So. Okay, well, last story that I just wanted to quickly touch upon, and I know Mark's going to jump out of his seat for this one. Nintendo's president, Satoru Iwata, said that the cloud is too lagged for casual or serious gaming. He flat out told investors, and I quote, "Yes, the technologies we use in our video game consoles actually include some elements which are very suitable, but others which will never be suited to cloud computing." He actually said never. So any guesses on why Nintendo's taking this stance, Mark?
I think it's a stupid comment. I think it's akin to when Gates said no one will ever need more than 64K of RAM.
Or when Prince said the internet's dead.
Yeah, well, that one's stupid too. I agree, both of them. It's interesting because just several weeks ago, Steve Perlman of OnLive demonstrated that you can do video games using his compression technology at the D conference. And it was apparently an extremely impressive real-time demonstration of doing cloud-based gaming. So I think anytime you say never like that, you got to be careful because that's going to come back and bite you. And I think this is going to bite him.
Yeah. Dave, do you think that he's just worried? Do you think that he just feels like he's backed into a corner with this one? Or what is it?
No, this is code for Nintendo doesn't have a cloud strategy.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get everybody off the cloud and thinking in different ways. And reality is that they're going to miss the boat on this one. I agree with Mark. This is a very stupid thing for him to say, and it's going to come back to bite him.
Yeah. Bill, are you in this camp with us, or what are your thoughts?
Tell it to Facebook.
I like that. On that note, I'm starting to feel a little bit funny in here, like my clothes are changing, and I don't know.
Shield Maiden.
Yes?
Ragnarok is upon us once again.
Who's that?
Oh, never mind. Just go with it.
Okay.
Storm on demand. Storm on demand. Storm on demand is an infrastructure as a service, more cloud computing platform that is powerful enough to replace dedicated servers. A proprietary cloud platform designed by Liquid Web, one of the largest web hosting providers with over 12 years of experience. It is easier to use and less expensive than Amazon EC2. Features include server setup in minutes, easy scaling, backup and restoration capabilities, and pay-as-you-go utility-style billing. Options include cPanel, Fantastico, Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, fully managed servers, private networking, and swords like this, and little guys that we do not have in this commercial, but that doesn't matter, because this is cooler. Storm On Demand can be found at stormondemand.com, at Storm On Demand. Ragnarok be damned. Storm On Demand. If you do not get Storm On Demand, I will come to your house with my sword and make you get it.
And these are the little guys.
You think I should try a decaffeinated brand?
Nah.
No?
I'm surprised that we actually still have Bill Loumpouridis on the phone with us, and we didn't scare him away with our little antics.
It's good to know.
I was hiding under my desk. Is it safe to come out?
Yeah, it's safe. It's safe. The outfits are gone for the moment anyway. So everyone, again, Bill Loumpouridis, founder, president, and CEO of EDL Consulting. And what we want to talk about with Bill today is Cloud Craze, which is your enterprise e-commerce platform you've developed in the cloud. Now, Cloud Craze, I believe it was the first e-commerce product that was developed 100% natively on the Force.com platform. Is that right, Bill?
That's correct.
So what is the significance of that? I mean, we've covered Force.com on the show a few times, but why is it so significant to have an e-commerce platform built on Force.com?
Well, we've been, as EDL Consulting, we've been building e-commerce, enterprise-class e-commerce systems for almost 10 years now in what I call traditional web or Java technology.
Right.
And it's typical in those implementations to spend a great deal of time and effort, energy, cost to integrate what is essentially another silo, which is your e-commerce system, and integrate that back to your CRM, so that you can effectively market and consolidate that and get that consolidated customer view.
Yeah.
So the beauty of doing this is it's actually on several levels, being able to do it on Force.com. First and foremost, you're extending your CRM platform to do e-commerce, to enable e-commerce. So you're taking that product data that's already there, you're taking that customer data that's already there, and why stop at just funnel management and opportunity management? Why not actually capture that order, right?
Oh, wow. All in one place. I like that.
Exactly. Okay. And, given the experience we've had with Java and now moving to Force.com, there are a lot of studies out there that Salesforce is publishing around productivity enhancements in the Force.com platform. We're seeing that firsthand. We're seeing scenarios where applications where we've quoted $1 million and up to do enterprise class e-commerce, we're now doing bids in the $100,000 range.
Wow.
Right? So dramatically reduced costs, dramatically accelerated time frames, and you end up with a system that can be administered by your functional end users, and you have to go running out to coders every time you need to make a change.
Now, you've been in this business for 10 years or more with EDL Consulting, so at what point did you start getting some push from existing customers for having a solution in the cloud? Was that part of the reason for you to switch and actually have and create Cloud Craze?
Well, certainly, the push from customers is better, faster, cheaper.
Right.
Right. And so, we 2 years ago, we weren't hearing from customers. We weren't hearing, do something for us in the cloud.
Yeah.
What we were hearing was, do something for us for a lot less money. What can you do?
Yeah.
And so we've enabled a whole new market segment with Cloud Craze. So when I was talking before about enterprise class e-commerce and $1 million implementations, the only entities that could afford that historically were billion-dollar companies.
Right.
Now, in the mid-market, where you've got, say, $50, $100 million companies, $200 million companies, their requirements and their day-to-day environments are just as complicated as their billion-dollar brothers, right? But they've just, to date, been able to just sort of muddle through on the e-com side because they couldn't afford to do the real deal.
Yeah, that's something, let me jump in for just a second here. I mean, a lot of what you're saying, Bill, echoes so much of what we've heard on the show before in terms of the time frame, in terms of like these last 2 years, really.
Yeah.
And, the pain points are always going to be the same. And then also just the notion of cloud computing really benefiting a broad swath of people from startups all the way up through to enterprise. It's kind of funny when all of you ask, well, what's the audience here on This Week in Cloud Computing? Quite frankly, it's everybody. It's the startup all the way on through.
Yeah.
Because it's really enabling, opening doors for smaller guys all the way up through to actually benefit on a number of levels. So continue, sorry. You there?
Yeah,
oh, I see missed call on our phone in the studio. I'm like, did we lose him?
I was rewinding back to my train of thought, but so again, this market segment that was muddling through, right? These $100 million companies that they were either relegated to a Yahoo storefront,
right,
or they would have to completely outsource what they needed to, say, a GSI Commerce or a Digital River, right? Yeah. And do a pay-as-you-go. But they couldn't do what their larger competitors were doing. So now suddenly they have that option. And, our clients are sending us accolades. We've always gotten, great client feedback, but it is over the top right now with, the positive feedback. And it's really about empowerment. You know, you've got end users, you know, you've got sponsors right now that are doing it themselves, that are making changes, that are iterating in real time for the first time.
Now, how long does it take generally to launch a new storefront? So, you know, if you've got a few different ones you would like to do, I mean, when you're doing it in the cloud versus on-premise, what's the time difference?
You know, again, I go back to our $1 million Java projects, and, you know, those were 3 to 6 months, sometimes extending to 9 months, depending upon complexity. And we're in 6 to 8 weeks cycles right now from, you know, storyboarding through implementation.
Wow.
We're, you know, just under 2 months.
Just under 2 months.
Right.
Wow. And which verticals are you really seeing a lot of movement in terms of Cloud Craze?
You know, we've always done really well with manufacturers, and especially, you know, manufacturers. We've seen a lot of convergence lately with between what used to be called B2B and, you know, this whole B2B versus B2C. There's a tremendous amount of convergence in that space with respect to, first and foremost, the user experience.
Okay.
When you're on a B2B site, you don't expect it to be a crappy experience, right? You expect it to be you know, the same thing that you experience on any consumer site, right? So the bar has been raised on B2B e-com.
All right.
In terms of not just the user experience, but, you know, everything surrounding that. You know, you're going to expect a confirmation email. You're going to expect online chat. You're going to expect all these things.
Well, I want to throw this over to my trusty cohort, Dave. Are there any questions that you have for Bill about Cloud Craze?
Yeah, first thing, Mark Benioff called and he wants to know how much you want for your company. Yeah, number two, do you just work?
Call on hold. Was that him?
Is it just Salesforce.com that you guys work with, or is it any CRM system that you're able to put a storefront on? We
really, you know, we chose Salesforce.com and Enforce.com very, very consciously. We saw that as leaps and bounds ahead of anything, especially if you think about 2 years ago. There was nothing that even came close to where Salesforce was with their ability to stage custom application development in the cloud. So it is strictly right now for Force.com.
Oh, all right. Anything else, Dave, on your end?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm setting up a storefront and I'm looking to back it into the CRM system, so ultimately the value proposition is not only can I create the storefront to interface with my customers and allow customers to sign up, but it's the management on the back end. How deep do you guys go in providing those processes and leveraging those processes that are deep inside Salesforce?
Well, and that's exactly what the value proposition is. So we go very, very deep. You know, it's very, very common. You know, you on our websites for a end user, when they register for the first time, they're going to create either a lead or an opportunity inside the CRM as a natural part of that experience. They're not going to actually see that, but that's, you know, happening behind the scenes. Not only that, but the hooks that Salesforce has in terms of Google Analytics. So we're able to take not just standard CRM, but behavioral attributes of consumers and take those, meld those with buying, demographic data, and really empower our customers to do far more intelligent promotions online for upsells and cross-sells. So it's a whole spectrum of not just traditional CRM, which goes very deep, but a variety of other behavioral and demographic information.
Great.
I'm sensing that we need to have a musical interlude in here momentarily, but are there any other questions in the chat room? Are there any questions from the cowboys in the room, perhaps?
Well, not yet, little lady, but maybe there will be in a little bit.
On that note, I would like to thank Bill Loumpouridis with EDL Consulting for joining us today. If you would like to follow Bill on Twitter, what is that, Bill? Is it EDL Consulting?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, thank you again for your time. Make sure you follow Bill, EDL Consulting. And now I believe we have a musical interlude. Thank you, Bill.
Well, you know, Amanda, I'm feeling very good about today's performance, so that's why I've dressed up. And I suggest that you dress up as well. So please put on your hat. Thank you, little lady.
All right, all right.
All right, here we go. Let's fire it up.
Your cloud hosting provider letting you down. Take a look at managed private clouds from Verticore. They can easily replace your current IT infrastructure and eliminate IT pains, or the cost and hassle of buying and maintaining IT equipment and software. Deliver 100% uptime to end users. Configure and deploy resources in minutes. With Verticore, oh Verticore, you should be using Verticore. Verticore, oh Verticore, you should be using Verticore. Verticore, your private cloud is hosted in an advanced and secure data center. It uses only best-in-class hardware and software and gives you access to scalable bandwidth. Verticore's team of experts monitor and maintain your private cloud 24/7 by 365. Verticore, oh Verticore, you should be using Verticore. Verticore, oh Verticore, you should be using Verticore.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, my. We have a caller because I believe we have an app of the week. Oh, we have so much fun here on This Week in Cloud Computing. If you are just now joining us, make sure you're following us on Twitter at TWICloudComp and use the hashtag TWICC. You can also join us in the chat room. We have a lot of fun here, if you haven't noticed. So I have now on the phone Rob Bialk with TalentDrive. How are you?
Good evening, good afternoon in LA.
Evening and afternoon. You know, we have guests from all around the world on the show, so thank you for joining us from another time zone.
You're welcome.
So we're going to be talking about Talent Filter, actually a product from TalentDrive, which is an internet recruiting solution for the most part, right, Rob?
Absolutely. Anyone that hires could use Talent Filter. So we're one of these SaaS cloud applications that appeals to all size companies. Our clients range from Fortune 500 all the way to solo recruiters.
Now, what are some of the biggest problems that recruiters face? I mean, there have to be a million different things that they can use to try and find qualified applicants, but it must be like a needle in a haystack, or at least that's what I've been told. So what are the biggest pains that you hear?
Well, within the whole recruitment process, it's a very complex in various countries in the U.S. You know, most companies do background checks, some do assessments, and you know, there's obviously the face-to-face interview time, so it's just not a matter of looking at a resume and making a job offer, and the processes will fluctuate. But the most time-consuming part of hiring someone has always been to find them, to find a talent, to find, as you said, the needle in the haystack. And what we do is we source thousands of resume locations. There's
what are some of the big ones that we might know?
Well, I mean, the free sites, the more popular ones are LinkedIn and Craigslist are probably two of the more popular ones. And when I say LinkedIn, it's your own LinkedIn network. So, Amanda, when you are when you link in with me, you'll be within my 3 degrees of separation. So you'll be part of my hiring database if I'm looking for a rock star producer.
Aww. We got
But within that, what you know, it will fluctuate based upon the country and where we're at. Obviously, Monster is a monster of a database. That's
so this,
global.
sorry, this is international then, as well.
Oh yes, absolutely. We have 8 sites in India.
So if we're looking for developers outside of the country.
Absolutely. APAC, we have a lot of UK clients, and it's thousands, and a lot of boutique and niche sites. Every day we have one of our partners or clients request a college site or some niche site that we add, so we're always adding new sites. And the number of, when we say resumes, it's actually profiles too, because on LinkedIn it's a profile, but it's also the open web. So it's really all over in this graphic that I think if everyone could see.
Oh, we can jump over. Let me switch on over here.
Okay.
Everybody see my screen all right? There we go.
And it really needs to be updated with 2010, and there's the job postings are increasing, so we're out of the job recession, even though we're not totally out of it, especially if we're one of the 9% unemployed. And Barack Obama's in Chicago today, so if I see him for his birthday, I'll I'll try to ask him to get on the stick on that one. And the number of resumes are increasing exponentially. So what we do is we sift and sort based upon a job order, a job description. We do a semantic conceptual match and a keyword match, and we aggregate all these different sites into one dashboard.
Okay.
And it's on the cloud. We have data centers both in the UK and also actually in California.
Right.
And so it's anywhere, and it's subscription based.
Can we log in and actually see what the interface looks like?
Sure.
Okay. Can you do that on your end? Okay, there we go. Cool.
Yep. What I did is I kind of hopped above here. Let me first go. I'll show you 3 screens because I'm going to guess that out of our listening population here,
we do have one question, actually. Let me throw this in from the chat room. Jay Praz in the chat room is saying that a lot of recruiters have quite a bit of talent already that they can sift through, but it's about matching them with the right opportunity. So does Talent Filter address that to some extent?
Well, we're primarily all supply side.
Okay.
So when you think of TalentDrive, it's all about giving you the yield. But what we are able to do also is harness the millions of resumes that are sitting in these corporate career sites. And I don't think anyone has ever applied for a job that's ever lived that where you apply to particularly a Fortune 1000 and they go dark and you don't hear anything.
Right.
At best, you'll get an automated email. What we're able to do is also sweep the internal corporate databases if they point the tool to pull the talent up, because a lot of these corporate applicant hiring systems do not have the sophistication of search that we do. So we actually look at that as just as another source.
Okay.
But did I answer your question there? Okay. On the positions here, I mean, this is my demo database, and I'm running a number of different searches, and let's look at this manager of. I'll just look at this top one here, this account manager, and what we're able to do is we're able to do a radius search, and we're located here in downtown Chicago at the Merchandise Mart, and so I'm searching for an HR person within 50 miles of River North, the Merchandise Mart, so we have a little Google map there that we pull in, and this is the job description that we have, and we could put skills and responsibilities, we could plug in a resume, and we could clone that. And the second way to get the search going is just keywords or Boolean, which is a common recruiter term. And it's saying we want sales on the resume, and we want a human resource on the resume, and someone that has sold SaaS and software and performance management, intelligence management. These are the OR statements right there. The next screen is just picking whether you want paid sites, free sites, open web, what have you, and we could run it every day. We could run it every third day.
So you can actually pick specific sites that you want to filter out or filter in, or you can look at the entire web.
Exactly. We can pick and choose different sites, and that's it. It's a 1, 2, 3 step process, and many of our users are actually see a little bit different GUI, because if you're what we have is an API that many of the popular applicant tracking systems have taken, and they've put their brand and their GUI on front. So
okay, so you're skinning it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Amanda, you're really the true geek that I thought you would be.
I appreciate that so much. I don't know if you've seen one of the most recent episodes. I was actually wearing my I Love Geeks shirt. Yes, it is true. Tis true. It is.
Now, this is the money shot here.
Good.
We pre-sort this by concept score, which is taking the job description and matching it to the resume.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And we could sort on all these. We could sort on concrete or concept score. So that's very powerful.
And you can track when you've last been in touch with one of these potential applicants.
Exactly. You could, if I wanted to just say, you know what, I want to go down and do some surfing and down on the beach, I could just, check all and take all 800, check them all, and just send them a mass email and say, hey, call me if you're interested. I got a great job.
So you can actually manage the communication directly within this as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
And all these fields are sortable,
mm-hmm.
and what I could do is I could, link in, I could click down and view any one of these, and basically look at one resume at a time if I would.
Can I also export these to a database, that sort of thing as well?
Oh gosh, I'm glad that you asked. And this is totally unrehearsed, so I want to know that all you have to do is click this little box here,
sure.
and it exports. We could send it to an FTP site, send it to a CSV site.
Okay.
And
I like that.
And if we wanted to say, you know what, I just want to see anyone that has a score of over 50 on the keyword match, and or on the concept score, anything that's greater than equal to 350, I could just pick this button because
mm-hmm.
obviously 809 resumes you see here on the left center.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Is too much to look at, and the 809 comes down to, now I'm looking at just the top 68.
Mm-hmm. Because I know that, with what we've had to do this weekend when we're looking at hiring, for instance, we get a lot of great people that we'll talk with that may not be a fit right now, but that might be a fit later, and it would be great to be able to track them more and stay in touch with them and actually manage that process.
Exactly, so. and we have connectivity with as I drill down. This sets me a LinkedIn profile,
okay.
and everything is highlighted as far as here's someone that worked at Oracle, and Bruce, I'm giving you some free airtime here.
Yes, Bruce Keating, if you're looking for work, we are currently featuring you on This Week in Cloud Computing.
Exactly, and. Yes,
if not, we're really sorry if your current employer doesn't know that you're looking.
We all live in glass houses here. And if I drill down on Bruce, I could see, well, gosh, he's currently a senior executive at Saba.
Now, what if I'm not linked to him? I mean, how does that work? Especially
if you're
with
not linked to him, you're not going to see Jeremy,
okay.
Dave, Carrie, and Mike.
Yep.
Because this is... I went a little fast here, and you notice I didn't have to log in and out
mm-hmm.
of the tool. But this says LinkedIn Find People. That means that's my little LinkedIn. If it was Google LinkedIn, it would mean that Google found this record.
Right.
So we attack LinkedIn a few different ways.
Now, quick question for you, too. I mean, this seems like it would be such a no-brainer for a fit with Salesforce. Have you thought about having any sort of official partnership with Salesforce, somewhat to what Bill Loumpouridis was just talking about?
Yeah, we have a partner by the name of Job Partners that mm-hmm. has built their hiring system around Salesforce, mm-hmm. and we're working with them.
Okay.
Salesforce, actually, as far as I know, they only have one. I only know of one company. It's actually in L.A., and that's Electronic Arts that uses Salesforce for actual as a hiring system, if you will.
Right.
And the reason why, a lot of companies, we are OFCCP compliant,
mm-hmm.
and Salesforce, everyone.
Can you explain what that means, Rob, for people who may not know?
Yeah, we're getting into HR nerd stuff, but
just a real top line.
Office of Federal Compliance. basically says that every time you are searching, you have to keep track of who you looked at. So every search we made, we could rebuild. And if you're a federal contractor, that's important. If you're not a federal contractor, then it doesn't really matter that much.
Right.
So but most big companies like to comply because if they get audited, it's just bad PR.
Yeah. Now, here, another quick one for you. You obviously pull in LinkedIn info. What about other social networks? Because there's a big discussion around employers finding great talent through social networking sites. So would you perhaps consider linking to Facebook or sites like that where a lot of people tend to be finding good employees?
You know, I've had some discussions with them, and I should follow up with them because they're probably closer to a big funding event here. Maybe they'll be more generous, but I'm trying to get my head around from a when you partner with Facebook, you propose an economic model to them, and with Facebook, what's great about LinkedIn, it's more business focused.
Right, exactly.
It's more resume like.
What about Plaxo? That's another good one.
Yeah. I've had some
I would imagine that if this is also allowing you to do a search over the entire open web, that it would pull from stuff like Plaxo too, would it not?
Yes.
Okay.
It could. I mean, we have Zoom information. We're open. We're like Switzerland. Whoever lets us access it, sign us up. So we're, as far as number of sources, as long as they'll let us, and we're a power browser. We're not spidering.
Yeah.
So everyone that we sweep, we come in the front door and we say, hey, we're here and we're going to abide by your rules and we're going to live by the limits. If so another thing that I want to mention, which is really big nowadays, is we're partnered with most of the job posting companies, and what the workflow is on that. For example, we had a client that sent 400 emails out to 400 nurses in Texas, and so no work done. It was all done automatically. It just flowed right through. They got 40 clicks and 20 applies, and that was at a cost of about $100. So the cost per applicant was $5. Nice. So if you don't have a product like Talent Filter, it is hard to find the needle in the haystack because you could imagine logging in and out of dozens and thousands. Usually, people can't get through more than a few sites.
Right. Dave, I know you're still there with us, I hope anyway. Do you have any questions for Rob?
Yeah. Do you guys just go and scrape the browsers, or do you go directly to the APIs to gather your data?
Well, it depends. Like with Zoom and CareerBuilder and Monster, the really big industrial paid sites that have great data, we embrace their API. For the little niche sites and for a lot of the smaller ones, we just register and go through the front door, and we manage those links and make sure the connections. And they love the traffic. They just like to get their name, Lee Hecht and Job Spider, and I could go on and on. In fact, instead of trying to remember, I should probably just, this is just some of the list of all the different sites that we go to. And I mentioned CareerBuilder earlier. Obviously, that's a brand that everyone knows. Computer Jobs, Craigslist. And it's just amazing, all the different sites. I know I'm getting dizzy, so you probably are too. But it's
what about?
So we're industrial strength sourcing that anyone could use that hires, and we've been around for a few years, and we're excited that we got invited today to get some exposure.
What about correlation of data? It seems to me that one of the great things about leveraging the cloud is we have this data in the context of lots of other stuff. So can we figure out, based on the candidates you're producing, who's on Facebook and what they're doing on Facebook, and all the things that kind of scare us, but can we find that or mine this data to find this additional information to help us make a hire?
Yeah, there is. I mean, it's really interesting from the social networking. And well, let me step back here a little bit. And the day of corporate America just posting to Monster and posting a job to CareerBuilder, and the herd runs the CareerBuilder and Monster. As great as those databases are, and corporate recruiting is still very tethered to it. The trend in corporate recruiting right now is absolutely right. It's more on search engine marketing, search engine optimization to get the eyeballs. Social networking is the hottest thing in recruiting right now, and we embrace all methods, and we're partnering with the SEOs and the STMs of the world, and working in conjunction to them to essentially drive traffic to whoever is hiring. But it's the some of the social sites are it's a little bit dicey. I mean, I'm on Facebook. I don't spend too much time there because it's more. Most people on Facebook are there for social reasons, and it could be very dangerous sometimes to try to hire them from there. But I think you'll see Facebook evolving to more to monetize their business to more of a business model, and obviously anyone that has kids, we all train them on what not to do and what to do on Facebook.
But not everyone pays attention to that, as we all know.
Exactly.
Right. It's funny the behavior that changes once people get in the real world, as far as what they'll put in Facebook, which once they get in the real world.
True. Anything else from your side, Dave?
No, it looks like a great app. It certainly fills a need. Punch in cloud computing architects and tell me what it says.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we are getting questions too from the chat room. It is definitely, Rob, I think something worth thinking of in terms of the social networking sites, not just Facebook, but just to see what kind of information you can glean from those, sort of like what Salesforce is doing with pulling in Jigsaw, for instance. So even just the basic integration with Salesforce would definitely be a big help.
I do want to mention that we do source from Twitter, and I think Twitter has got a leg up on Facebook
definitely.
As far as from a business standpoint. But it's a little tricky. Too much of a good thing. It's like when you do a Google search and you get 2 million results.
Right.
Immediately you say, "Wow, I'm so happy I got these results," and then you have to kind of
search through your search results.
Down.
Exactly. Well, Rob, if people want to follow you guys on Twitter, what is your handle, given that you also are tied into Twitter?
John or Alyssa, are you on?
I think we've got @TalentDrive. I think that's what it is.
That looks right.
@TalentDrive. Yep, that's what she gave me. So if you want to follow these guys, make sure you follow @TalentDrive. And thank you so much for joining us today, Rob.
Yeah, you're right. It is @TalentDrive.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, TalentDrive. Make sure you guys check them out. And I think I'm feeling kind of weird again,
yeah, me
aren't
too.
you?
It's strange.
In here.
Shield Maiden,
Yes?
Ragnarok is upon us once again.
Who's that?
Oh, never mind. Just go with it.
Okay.
Storm on demand. Storm on demand. Storm on demand is an infrastructure as a service, cloud computing platform that is powerful enough to replace dedicated servers. A proprietary cloud platform designed by Liquid Web, one of the largest web hosting providers with over 12 years of experience. It is easier to use and less expensive than Amazon EC2. Features include server setup in minutes, easy scaling, backup and restoration capabilities, and pay-as-you-go utility-style billing. Options include cPanel, Fantastico, Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, fully managed servers, private networking, and swords like this, and little guys that we do not have in this commercial, but it doesn't matter, because this is cooler. Storm On Demand can be found at stormondemand.com, @StormOnDemand. Ragnarok be damned. Storm on Demand. If you do not get Storm on Demand, I will come to your house with my sword and make you get it.
Don't really come to their house.
I was dancing with my man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt?
Yes.
I won't really come
See,
to
look,
this sword, I promise.
we're learning the waltz.
Very
Anyway, I have way too much fun with these little guys. So I would like to thank our guests one last time today. We had Bill Loumpouridis with EDL Consulting, and again, Rob Bialk with TalentDrive. And I want to thank my trusty co-hosts, Mark Jeffrey,
Always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to sing.
Always a pleasure to sing. And we have hats.
We have
crazy
hats. We always have
and
hats.
also, Dave Linthicum, thank you again from my opposite coast. Nice to see
absolutely.
you as always.
Thanks, guys.
And please, please, everyone, thank our amazing sponsors, Verticore, Storm On Demand, and NetDNA. That's at Verticore, at Storm On Demand, and at NetDNA CDN. If you thank them on Twitter, you never know what kind of goodies can come from This Week in Cloud Computing.
That's right.
So we thank our sponsors. We would like you to do the same. If you have ideas for the show, send them to pitch@thisweekend.com or to myself, Amanda@thisweekend.com, and we will always get back to you. And same goes for discount codes for conferences. We would like to share the love when it comes to those things for our community, so send those as well. But until then, be sure to join us again next week. I'm your host, Amanda Coulong. Thank you for watching. Remember, same cloud time, same cloud channel.